All right, it looks like we're recording, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. What we're going to start working on today are our clay hands, the clay hands project. And what we're going to do is, first thing you're going to need to do is cover your table with the big red cloth. And that'll be enough to cover your entire table. Two reasons why we do that. A, it makes it so your clay doesn't necessarily stick to the table. And B, it makes it so that you can pick it up off of the table and not have to scrape your project off. Okay? Makes sense? All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut you off a piece of clay off of the block of clay in the back. This is already wedged clay, so we don't have to wedge it or prepare it. Supposedly, all of the air bubbles are gone from the clay. So what we need to do is we're going to just, you might, if you have jewelry, you might want to remove some jewelry. But what you're going to do is you're going to just pat out the clay so that it's in a wedge. Because if you look at your hand, it's wider at the palm of your hand and the wrist, and it's thinner at the fingers. So it tapers down in a wedge shape. So we're going to make this clay into a wedge shape. And you can kind of lay your hand beside it to see if you've got it thin enough. Okay, and you also notice that your fingers, you kind of have this little ridge a little bit. That looks pretty good as I keep pounding it. Okay, what you're going to do next then is you're going to lay your hand on there and you're going, oh, thank you for helping me. That's all right. We're learning how to use our little ladybug, as it's called, okay? Guess I should have had you just holding that. You should have been my Vanna White for a minute, Sam. What you're going to do is you're going to take a needle tool. This is a needle tool. It's used to cut clay, not stab your neighbor or carve onto my tables. All right? The clay drawer is the drawer next to the kiln. And so happens that today the kiln is on back there, so please be careful. But what you're going to do is you're going to lay your hand and you're going to kind of spread out your fingers a little bit. And we're going to do like we were in kindergarten in first grade when we traced our hands to make turkeys at Thanksgiving time. Well, we're going to trace our hands and be very careful that you're keeping the tool straight up and down, if at all possible. And I'm just touching lightly on the surface. But when I'm done with this step, I'm going to go back in and carve all the way down. Now, in the end, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be making either your first initial or your last initial in sign language.
That'll be hard.
That's the pose that you're going to do. So I will have this projected up. Also, this information is all on StudyWiz. How many of you are StudyWiz users? Okay, maybe I'll do a quick little demo for those of you who are not StudyWiz users as to how you can get into StudyWiz. Okay, but I'll have this projected for you to see, and you can then decide which sign language letter you're going to do. All right, so I'm going to carve this down. And it may be that your clay is too thick and you won't be able to actually carve all the way down. So you'll just have to kind of peel it apart a little bit so you can get down and carve it the rest of the way. Any extra clay that you're not using, we're going to put back in the recycling bin of clay.
They're all going to get a block like that, like what you had?
You're going to get a block like what I had, yes. And you really want to try to do this as smoothly as possible. Okay, there's my hand. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to want to round your fingers because right now they're very square. So you can just kind of pinch along the edge of your fingers and your hand to make them be rounded. Now, I have to do this to the other side as well, because where it connects and touches the surface of the cloth, it's also square. So we want to kind of round this out. And this is really about the perfect consistency of clay to do this. And it's going to be very easy for you to round it. Okay? So then you're just going to pick it up and flip it over. Now you want to be careful that you're not smashing it, because then you're going to make square marks on the bottom again. So you want to just kind of pinch on the edges to round it. Now, when we are done, we're going to want these to be able to stand. So we're going to need to keep most of the wrist here so we can balance it and make it stand. Okay, and this is not the perfect final rounding that I'm doing or shaping. This is just all the preliminary stuff to get us going. Okay, and I'm going to be working really quickly where you're going to be spending a lot more time. Now I can shape my fingers a little more because they did get a little flattened on that side, but not bad. Now, this is the point where I would make knuckles. I would make any creases. I would make fingernails. A great way that I found to use fingernails or to make fingernails is you can use a spoon if you've got a small enough spoon, and you can come in and just make this little indentation for fingernails with the spoon. Let me go ahead and stop this video so I can go get that tool. Start our recording again. Hopefully it's going with us. A couple of methods for making fingernails. This nice little tool, it's a plastic tool. It's pointed on one end and kind of a flat little spade on the other end. You can kind of just carve in where the bottom of your fingernail would be and kind of just draw it out.
Those look real. It's pretty sweet.
And when you get to the end of the finger, you can even come in here and push back and carve it down a little bit to actually give it what looks like a fingernail. Okay, that's one way to do a fingernail. Now, I've never tried this one, but I saw it on a video online, is if you use a spoon and kind of do the same thing. I don't like the spoon, I can tell that already. But if you use a spoon, it looks like you have to come in here and kind of define the edges of your fingernail, because the spoon doesn't do that for you. Okay, now obviously I haven't smoothed or perfected my fingers yet either. They're really fingerprinty from where I was bashing them on the sides to get them to be round. Okay, this would also be a time where I want you to really look at your hand. Okay, your fingers do not bend at the webs between your fingers. Okay, everybody look at their hand. Your finger, if I bend my index finger, it bends back here where my knuckle is. And if I put my finger on that knuckle when it's bent and I lay my finger back flat, look where it bent. It bent clear back here instead of most of the time people want to make it bend up here. Now, don't go telling Mr. Roller, but we're doing a little anatomy and physiology here because we're talking about bending only where there are joints in our body. We're not talking about a broken arm, a broken finger here, okay? It will not bend right here where most people are going to want to bend it at the bottom of that web. It actually bends back here where the knuckles are. Some of you have nice petite hands and your knuckles are very predominant. You can see your knuckles. I kind of have pudgy hands where my knuckles are not very dominant. If you have knuckles that are dominant, now would be the time to take a little ball of clay And you can kind of put your knuckles on your hand and smooth it in. Okay? And that comes back here on your hand, not right where the web is. Okay? So you could build in all of your knuckles. And this clay is moist enough that we don't have to worry about scoring and those kinds of things. You can just add them in. Okay? Now, if you're working and your clay gets a little bit dry, we have the spray bottles in the back. Just give it a quick little spritz. That's about all it takes to make a nice wet surface of the clay. Okay? So let's say I've got all of the knuckles done. And let's just say now to do the creases, the wrinkles on your fingernail, on your knuckles, I wouldn't just draw them in because that looks kind of weird, all right? You can use this little tool and you can even use your own hands as kind of a guide as to where those are going to go. But you can kind of just carve those in. And I've even got some up here. Okay. And I won't probably go 100% the way they are. Alright, let's say I've got all my fingers. Obviously, this is going to take us multiple days to do. Okay, today is not going to be it. But say I've gotten this far, and I wouldn't expect you to get this far until tomorrow at the earliest. Okay? Because today is going to be spent wedging, getting that wedge shape, tracing your hand, cutting it out, getting rid of all your extra clay. And actually, I think this clay isn't going to go in the recycling box. I think I grabbed the wrong kind of clay, but we're going to use it anyway. We got to use it up. It's stoneware instead of earthenware. It's got a little more texture to it than what we normally would work with, so we don't want to mix our clays together. So I'll get out another bucket or something for us to put that in. But once you have it all perfected the way you want it, you have to decide then what initial you're going to do. For example, I'll probably do, maybe I'll do an R. And an R looks like this on the sheet. Okay. So here's the R. Y'all see that one there? And it looks like this if I do it with that hand. Or like this if I do it with this hand. Okay? So that's kind of the pose I'm going to be going for. So if I'm going to be doing that pose, these two fingers are going to have to bend, but not where the web is. They have to bend back on my hand. Okay? And then I would bend it where my knuckle is again, here. And I would bend it here for this knuckle. But I want to keep these straight because these are not broken, so they have to be straight. From my knuckle on my hand to the knuckle of my finger has to stay straight. Yes?
Does this stay moist overnight?
We're going to bag it and seal it overnight. Yep. Okay? Then I need to make this finger move, but I can't bend it because I can't make it like a rubber band and go whoa around there. It's got to kind of stay straight. And again, I'd be working on perfecting the roundness of my fingers, but I would say it kind of looks like that. Okay? Like this on this side, like that on that side. Now, many of you that are going to have to move your pinky, or excuse me, your thumb in to be for, let's say, an M. Is this an M? Or an M is this way, but again, I had to move my thumb in. Your thumb is actually going to move from back at your wrist. It also bends here, like the rest of your fingers, but it can bend all the way across your hand by bending back here. All right? So for the R, notice how the side of the hand is straight up and that the thumb actually now has moved into the palm of the hand. So for doing that, I would actually take the whole thumb and I would move the whole thing over and that would be the basic outline of my hand in the shape of an R. Okay, and you can look at it from all sides. Pose your hand that way. What does it look like from this side? Okay, looks like I needed to move this over more. Okay, so use your hand as a model for this project. Again, I want you to take your time. I would expect that maybe by the end of class on Friday, we could be pretty close. Okay, so meaning today, if you can get your wedge, your hand cut out, and your fingers and hand rounded, so it doesn't look like a cube, or even don't thin it so much that you have bacon strips. Okay, we want sausages. All right, so I want you to get that done today. Get everything rounded, maybe starting on details of your fingernails and your knuckles and things like that. Tomorrow you'll actually begin the posing of it. Yes.
Can we add rings also maybe?
And when we are all finished, you'll have the opportunity to add accessories. One year I even had someone go out and buy fake fingernails, and we put it on here, and then we had to take it off obviously to fire it in the kiln, but then when it came out of the kiln we glued the fake fingernails on because they wanted long fingernails on their fingers. Okay, so those are some options, but yes, even if you don't want to do like a clay ring or something like that, we could always make it out of wire and put it on later. Just make sure that you're leaving a little bit of space in between here so that we could get it on if you're going to add it after the kiln. Okay. All right, I'm going to go position myself back at the sink, flip the lights back on, and then be back there to cut clay off. I should be able to do it pretty quickly, so if you just want to kind of come table by table, and we'll get that all handed out.